Having worked in Fall River for about 21 years, let me tell you, the rivalry between New Bedford and Fall River is real. It's very real, believe me, not just in sports, but in business and a lot of other things. Fall River recently jumped the gun on the Whaling City when folks in Fall River created a Toastmasters organization. It's an international organization, as I've learned today, but those folks aren't content to keep the organization in Fall River. They'd like to see it happen here in New Bedford as well. With me today to talk about Toastmasters is Ryan Levesque, who is the immediate past president for the Fall River Club. First of all, Ryan, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Jim. Pleasure to be here.
First of all, what is the Toastmasters group or organization? What is that? Give me a little history lesson, if you will.
Of course, yeah. Toastmasters is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping people improve their communication and leadership skills. There's pretty deep roots for the organization, 93 years of history. The very first meeting was held in the basement of a YMCA in Santa Ana, California in 1924. Gentleman named Ralph Smedley, who wanted to get together with local businessmen. At the time, it was just men who were members of the organization, a different time, and wanted to help them improve their communication and leadership skills. And so what we do today is the same thing that Ralph Smedley set out to do 93 years ago. The mission of the organization is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in self-confidence and personal growth.
And I think by that answer, you've intimated this is a co-ed organization.
It is, yes, very much so. Has been for many years now. And just a little bit more, we've got 345,000 memberships, representing nearly 16,000 clubs in 142 countries.
So how is it working in Fall River?
Tremendously well. We are just about to start our third year as a club in Fall River. And frankly, a lot of times when a new club starts, they can be vulnerable. Just like businesses, not every club survives past the first few years. And we are closing out our second year actually as the #1 club in the district in terms of educational awards. So that includes central and eastern Massachusetts and all of Rhode Island. In 2 years, we've risen to the top in educational awards. So it's quite an accomplishment.
Okay, so before we talk about educational awards, let's talk about the makeup of the club. Where do people come from? How do you recruit? Talk to us about that.
Sure. Well, the way a club typically starts is we have a series of what we call sample meetings, which is basically a Toastmasters meeting, our regular meeting format, and we will put out the word through social media, through person-to-person contacts, through a press release, which you may have seen that we did for the New Bedford Club. And people come and get a sense of if this seems like something that fits their personal and professional goals. And that's basically how it starts. We need to get 20 members for a club to officially charter. And in Fall River, our first meeting, we had, I think, 2 people after the first meeting. And once the second meeting ended, we had 20 members and were able to officially charter.
All right. So now the educational awards, are we talking about awards to students or are we talking about educating members?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
So both, and I'll say both because all of our members are also students, so to speak. So every member, when they join, they get 2 manuals. One is called the Competent Communication Manual, and the other is the Competent Leadership Manual. And each contains a series of projects. And as members give speeches, for example, they will get credit towards educational awards. Your goal as a new Toastmaster is to get through your first 10 speeches as quickly as possible. These are usually 5 to 7 minute speeches. Each project works on a different aspect of communication. One might be body language, another might be using words, another might be organizing your speech effectively, persuasive speaking, inspirational speaking, and so on. So by the time you get to the 10th speech, you've learned all of the basics of communication, of public speaking. And so there's an award that comes along with that.
Sure.
And similarly, on the leadership side, there's a series of 10 projects, each teaching leadership skills.
So you've got more than 20 people involved, I bet, now.
In Fall River, we have 23 members on the books right now.
Okay. And what's the end game? What's the goal of this beyond, I would imagine, increasing self-confidence and being prepared to become a leader in your community in some form or fashion?
Yeah, that is it. And I have to say, in Fall River, you mentioned the rivalry between the two cities.
Yeah.
Doing a Google search, there were many articles in which, unfortunately, New Bedford and Fall River are named as some of the lesser desirable cities to live in the state of Massachusetts. And I think what we've seen in Fall River is that this organization has attracted people who feel really passionately about their community, about their city, people who are leaders in neighborhood associations, who are college students, college professors. And I think it's really galvanized a spirit of trying to improve the city, improve the conditions. And it starts with the individual and with strengthening yourself as a person and a leader, and then reaching out and giving a hand to others and helping them up as well.
And I assume the similar goals are what the goals are here in New Bedford.
Yeah, can I tell you the story of how
Sure, please,
the New Bedford Club came along? So the Fall River Club did a series called Speechcraft at Bristol Community College over the winter. And what that is a 6-week-long program where we went in and worked with student leaders at BCC and taught them a lot of the skills and helped them practice a lot of the skills that we learn in Toastmasters. A very similar format to our Toastmasters meetings, but a little bit longer, a little bit more intensive since it's only a 6-week program. And one of the students there, a young man named Ryan Aruda, he is the general manager at Tia Maria's European Cafe in New Bedford. And before the program ended, he came up to myself and some of the other members of the Speechcraft team and said, I want to bring this to New Bedford. I've been so impacted in just the few weeks here that I know this could have great effect in New Bedford as well. So what do we need to do to start a club? And that's what we're doing now.
Right. And I know you had one meeting at Tia Maria
yes.
To start it off, and there's another meeting I'm sure planned.
There is.
Look, as you mentioned, these things can start slow, but they do eventually catch on, I think, for the most part. Sometimes I'm sure there are some cases where it may not catch on, or where you think you have an organization and then for whatever reason you don't. Is there a cost for this?
There is. There is a cost to Toastmasters International as well as local club dues. Mm-hmm. There's a $20 new member fee, which gets you the manuals that I mentioned earlier. And then the dues, I don't know exactly what they'll be for the New Bedford Club, but probably about $100 a year, in that ballpark.
How do you help people improve their presentations? I'm sure the manuals contain a lot of valuable information, but in general, how do you help people become more confident?
Yeah. So it starts with getting people to get up in front of the group or take some kind of leadership role in the group. The very first goal is for the member to give their icebreaker speech. It's a 4 to 6 minute speech, just introducing yourself to the club. And it gives the club a chance to get a sense of what some of the speakers' skills are that they're already bringing to the platform, as well as an opportunity to find maybe 1 or 2 areas to work on for next time. And that is done in the context of evaluations. So every time you speak or take on any role at Toastmasters, you will get feedback from an evaluator. It's always done in a supportive and encouraging manner. And we always try to find at least 1 area, as I said, for that person to work on for next time. So just taking that feedback, investing your experience of what you've just done into your next opportunity, and getting better over time.
All right. You're listening to Townsquare Sunday. I'm Jim Phillips. My guest is Ryan Levesque, who is the immediate past president of Toastmasters in Fall River, and Toastmasters looking to create a club here in New Bedford. Well, it's great for the individual, I think, if someone learns these skills and profits from all of this. But it's a plus for the community, I think, as well. It's not just because you've got a lot of MCs walking around. You're getting more you're making people more confident, and that's a good thing for a community.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is not just an organization for business people. It's for artists. It's for entrepreneurs, business people, professionals, for students, for homemakers, anyone who's interested in improving their communication and leadership. And absolutely, the hope is that it'll have a cascading effect on the community.
All right. So we should say, when is your next meeting in New Bedford?
The next meeting, it's Thursday, July 6th at 6 p.m., and that is at Tia Maria's European Cafe, right adjacent to the New Bedford Whaling Museum.
All right, so it's Tia Maria's. Mm-hmm. Now, is it the facility across the street? They also have a facility within the Whaling Museum. Is that where the meeting is?
It is not. No, it's a Portuguese cafe.
Right across the street from the rear of the Whaling Museum.
Right, yeah.
On Water Street.
That's right.
All right. How do people get involved, Ryan? Where do they call? Do they write in? Do they just show up?
Yeah, just showing up is a great way to get involved. And that is, by the way, in 42 North Water Street is the address. But show up on Thursday, July 6th. Check it out. There is also a Facebook page, facebook.com/CommunicateNB. That is what this club has chosen to name themselves, Communicate NB. And if it's of interest or you want to learn more, then you can talk with any of the leaders who'll be there putting on the event. We also encourage guests to come a few times if they need to really get a sense of if this is going to be a good fit for them.
All right, based on some preliminary, just talking with people, what do you think? Do you think it's a good? There's some interest here.
Absolutely.
Beyond the gentleman, beyond Mr. Arruda?
Yes. Yeah, going back, in fact, again to the the rivalry of the cities.
Yeah.
Fall River had, after our first sample meeting, we had 2 applications.
Right.
And after the first one here in New Bedford, we have 6 people who've filled out applications for membership. So New Bedford gets the point on that. And I'm confident that there will be enough interest to charter a club, hopefully after this next meeting here.
Now, for those of you who may want to learn more about Toastmasters, even more than you've heard today, you do a podcast. Is that right?
I do, yes. Since 2009, I have been one of the hosts of the official podcast for the organization. It is available at toastmasterspodcast.com and, of course, available through iTunes and Stitcher and all the usual places.
All right. I guess to kind of wrap up our conversation, Ryan, you've seen this work in Fall River to some extent and in other communities as well. What does it do? Give us a couple of things that you feel pretty positive will happen because of Toastmasters.
Sure, yeah. Well, let's, I guess, start with my own experience. I've been a member for about 15 years, and my experience in some senses is unique, as everyone's is, but I was working in a corporate job in downtown Boston in an office services position for an engineering firm. Well, I ended up meeting my business partner, who I'm in business with now full-time and have been since 2007, through Toastmasters. So there's the networking component, which isn't something we necessarily wave the flag for, but if you start talking to members, you'll realize that the relationships people develop through Toastmasters can be invaluable for their career, even from just a personal standpoint of expanding your network of friends and contacts. But definitely, as we've mentioned, an increase in confidence. As a new Toastmaster, if I came here to the radio station to chat with you, I would have been quite nervous and been pretty anxious beforehand, whereas I came here today looking forward to this opportunity to share about this organization that I love.
All right. So certainly it can help the individual. It can help the community. And how often do you meet monthly? Is that what you do in Fall River?
In Fall River, we meet twice a month. It's the second and fourth Thursday of the month. And our meetings in Fall River are about an hour and a half. And I should mention, too, if anyone who's listening is from Fall River, or if that's a more convenient location, our club website is fallriverinnovators.org.
All right, so let's talk how people can get involved again. Why don't you repeat the information, the meeting, you can show up or visit a website. Repeat that.
Yes, of course. Thursday, July 6th at 6 p.m. at Tia Maria's European Cafe, 42 North Water Street in New Bedford. And the Facebook page, facebook.com/communicatенb. And if anything we've said here is remotely intriguing, I would invite anyone who's listening, please come out, check it out. I'll be there as the MC of that particular meeting and would love to meet anyone who's listening.
This is Ryan Levesque, and he is a member of Toastmasters Fall River. Good luck with Toastmasters in New Bedford, Ryan, and thanks for coming in today.
Thank you so much, Jim. It's been a pleasure.